Welcome back everyone, my name is Patrick, but I go by Minimalist Bodybuilding. Today we'll be discussing the floor press and why you should consider putting it into your program. Now, let's start off with some questions that you might be asking yourself when thinking about the floor press. So, what is the floor press? The floor press is an exercise where you're laying down on the ground, but you're doing a benching type of exercise. So how it works is that you want to have a barbell or dumbbells. You start at the top like a normal bench press or dumbbell press, and while you're lowering to the bottom, the range of motion should be stopped because the back of your arms should hit the floor on the way down. Now, there are other factors that I will be talking about later in the video that may be different depending on your size and your build. Normally, that's what a floor press is. Once your arms hit the bottom of the floor, you want to press all the way up until you lock out, completing one repetition of the floor press. So why would you even use the floor press in the first place? Well, for a lot of people, the floor press is a very useful exercise to target specific areas of the body, specifically used in the bench press. Now, mainly, the things that it targets are the triceps and the front delts, which I would consider are secondary movers of the bench press. The reason you may want to incorporate this exercise is because the normal standard bench press, while it does work all of these muscles, the chest, the front delts, and the triceps, it mostly biases the chest, which would eventually cause imbalances in your body. So it's good to incorporate movements that specifically bias the triceps or the front delts in order to ensure that those parts are not falling behind the chest. Now, to perform it safely, specifically with a barbell, you want to have a rack that you can use to obviously rack the weight and unrack the weight. And normally, standard gyms, they use Olympic-sized plates that have 45-pound bumper plates or metal plates. The plates should be big enough so that on the eccentric, when you do drop the weight backwards towards your neck, so that the bar does not crush you, the plate should hit the ground before the bar does, allowing you to slip under the bar and out, which is why it is a favorite movement of mine because of how safe it is to bail out of the movement. Now, obviously, if you're using smaller weights, such as 1-inch plates where the weights aren't as big, which I do, you obviously want to have spotter arms somehow available on the sides, or you can even have someone that can spot you and pick up the weight if you do fail the movement. Now, let's get into a specific form breakdown. So you want to start off with laying down on the floor with your knees bent in order to ensure that you can still arch your back slightly throughout the movement. While performing the movement, obviously you want to arch your back just like a normal standard bench press, but you won't be able to get as big of an arch due to not being able to use any leg drive during the movement. Now, as far as grips, you want to use a standard grip similar to doing a normal bench press, which is typically a 1.5 times shoulder width apart grip. Obviously, you can try a close grip version, which will put more emphasis on the triceps and the lockout, or maybe even a wide grip version. Now, I want to speak about what I was talking about earlier regarding the floor press. Specifically, how to use the floor press based on your physical build. Obviously, some people will have different range of motions on the bench press, which also goes into the floor press. Now, the floor press is a movement that specifically helps improve the physiques of people with longer ranges of motion on bench, specifically people who are considered long arm benchers. I am one of these people as my arms stretch out so long, which makes benching so much harder for me, but deadlifting way easier. Now, let's talk about people with short arms. If the bar is able to touch your chest on the way down, the movement itself becomes similar to a bench press because you're still getting a similar range of motion to a standard bench. It still may be beneficial towards improving lockout if you're not able to touch your chest all the way down, but maybe try increasing to a closed grip version in order to get the benefits from it. Also, this is a very good home gym friendly exercise, as if you are using standard Olympic plates, you'll be able to do a very, very similar exercise to a bench because of the weight stopping the bar from hitting your chest and crushing you before it hits the ground. Now, let's talk about long arm benchers. The reason why this exercise is very good for those type of people is because the bar stops short of getting to your chest. For me personally, it stops a few inches above my chest. I would say around 5 or 6 inches, which is a big difference. And this emphasizes my triceps and front delts because it doesn't get into the territory where my chest gets activated as much. Obviously, my chest still gets stimulated, but not as much as my triceps and front delts do. Now, that is why this bench variation is perfect for people who are lacking in the triceps and front delts. It will help bias those muscles in order for them to grow specifically. So if you are a long arm bencher and you are having problems where your arms and shoulders are lacking compared to your chest and midsection, then I would definitely try considering this movement so your physique becomes an all-around monster, not just a Hulk in the middle with two little skinny twigs at the sides. Now, let's talk about how to use the floor press for bodybuilding specifically. You want to complete repetitions in the 8 to 12 rep range specific to bodybuilding, but obviously you can go to the 15s and maybe 20s, but I would not necessarily recommend it, but that's not to say that it can't be done. You want to program this movement as a compound movement, specifically biasing the muscles that I spoke about before, triceps and front delts, and try using different grips. Try using a closer grip to see if you can get more stimulus in your triceps and front delts, but be warned that the close grip may put a lot of tension on your tendons. An advanced technique for the floor press would be to not lock out at the top of the movement. The reason for this is because you can keep the tension on your muscles throughout the movement, which is a classic bodybuilding technique done by golden era specialists, such as Arnold Schwarzenegger and others. Now, the way to accomplish this is at the very end range of motion, when you're 95% done with the movement, stop right there and go straight back down to complete another repetition. Now, combine this with a close grip version of the floor press. This may be an insane tricep and frontal delt builder, but I have not experimented with this myself, as the lockout is something I struggle with, and I myself want to improve my lockout, so I have stayed away from variations like this. Now, let's talk about how to use the floor press for strength and powerlifting purposes. You can use the floor press to improve the lockout at near the end range of motion. You can also use the floor press to improve your sticking point if it is near the end of the range of motion, as that's when the triceps are the biggest factors contributing to you being able to push the weight up. And you can also use it during the middle section of your bench to ensure that your front delts are not weakened and are strong to be able to support the weight and get it past that point. Now, to program for strength, I would recommend using the 3 to 5 rep range as standard for powerlifting and strength training, but also trying to max out on this variation, as maxing out can help you improve your strength in specific areas, and maxing out in general has been shown to improve strength in all parts of your body that are used in the lift. Thank you for watching. I will be making more exercise tutorials like this in the long run, so please feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed watching these kind of videos. Also, comment down below what your favorite part was in the video and if you learned something new. Stay tuned because I'll be adding in more exercises just like this one that are very unique and specific to different parts of the body in order for you to learn what you can program in order to achieve the body that you want. If you'd like access to my free programs, my music playlists, want to contact me or send in any coaching inquiries, or just check out anything I offer, check the link down below in the description and that'll take you to my link tree where I have all my services listed.